Hi, today we are going to make a project tracker with progress bar. Let's assume that you are going to make a presentation to your customers, for example. So in order to plan it in a good way, you want to divide the main subject into small pieces. So I make this template. And in this template, we start with an introduction, and then each presentation ends with a conclusion. Between this introduction and conclusion, we can have other headings or the subjects, and each heading can also have subheading. For example, for my online video tutorial, suppose that we are going to learn VLOOKUP function. I can say explaining the basics of VLOOKUP. And as a subheading, I can say, for example, formula syntax. Formula syntax. Another one is extracting data from a table. And we can add another subheading like extracting data from a table in a different sheet or tab in the same Google Sheets file, or we can add, for example, extracting data from a different Google Sheets file. So whenever I accomplish those small pieces, I can check these, and whenever I check, it makes the calculation of the completion rate of the project, and it shows it on a graphical bar. And also, as you can see, when I continue to check, its color is changing. So let's make it from the beginning. First of all, I add another sheet, and let's call this as project tracker, and remove these grid lines. Also, I want to align to middle vertically to all cells in this sheet, and also I want to resize the height of those rows to 27, and because we are going to put checkboxes here, I want to reduce the size for those columns B and C to 20, and this one 50, 50, and here let's type, let's merge this first, and project completion rate, let's make it bold and bigger, and copy this down. Let's type 25% here, and we are going to place our graphical bar. Let's choose a thicker line and make outer borders here, and here let's type our first heading, which is introduction, and the second one is heading 1. To the next column we say subheading 1, subheading 2, here heading 2. Let's copy this and paste it here, and finally conclusion here. Let me also align this here like this. So change the font style here. Let's make it bigger and bold, and those ones here italic, and the color is gray. It's, yes, gray, this one. Okay. So, first of all, also, sorry, I forgot to insert the checkboxes here. Let's go to insert, checkbox, copy this, next to conclusion. Here, we copy it. And also here, let's copy this and paste it here. To differentiate from the main checkbox, let's change the color to orange. Copy this, paste next to subheading, and copy this again and paste it here. So, first of all, in order to calculate the completion rate of this project, we have to know how many headings, main headings in this list. And in order to find it, let's go to here and type number of headings. We will use a function called count A. Count A counts all the numerical and text cells with numerical values or text values in a range. So I will simply select this and drop the add reference, close the parentheses. So now it says we have 4 main headings in this list. So here I want to make the calculation. So because we have 4 headings, if I check this one, it has to say that 25% of the project has been completed because we have 4 main headings and we accomplished the first one. So the first quarter has been done. In order to calculate this, we will say if this one equals true, then 1 divided by the number of headings here. Let's press it at 4 to lock it and make it absolute reference, comma. If it is unchecked, put a 0 here. So if I check this box, it will say 25%. For those headings with subheadings, we have to calculate whenever I check this subheading, it has to say that half of this heading 1 has been completed. I say half because, as you can see, we have 1 and 2 subheadings. So when I check this first one, half of this heading 1 is completed. So because that one is also 12%, let's write 25%. So this one here, when I check this, it has to divide by number of blank cells in this range. Let me illustrate it here. First of all, let me type the titles here so that it will not be confusing. Here, let's say number of blank cells. So we type count blank. In this formula, I just want to know how many blank cells between heading 1 and heading 2, and it says 2. So if I come here and I say that here, this one divided by this one. So whenever I check this subheading 1, it's going to say 12%, 12.5% of the project has been completed. I mean, half of the heading 1 is being completed, so it's going to add this proportion to the main project completion rate. Now we hard-coded those numbers, so let's make a calculation here. Instead of this I9, where we can use this formula here, so that we will not need this cell anymore. Instead of I9, we type count blank D9 colon D10, and I type it. So how can we calculate this one, just like this one, 1 over K2, 1 over K2, press F4. So this is our calculation here. Let's copy this and come here. So instead of G8, we are going to say this. And to differentiate these two divisions from each other, we put the first expression into the parentheses, so that now it's going to find the total of this proportion in this range. Let me delete this. But the problem is, we have this formula here, and let's also make it absolute reference, and suppose that I put it here. So we have the same formula in this cell. Suppose that I want to add another row below. Now it doesn't count the number of blank cells in this range, so it is not dynamic. So, and it's not updating automatically. What we can do is, we can use another function called offset. What offset does, let me first remove this extra row. Sometimes it can make this kind of jokes. Sorry. Yeah. So let me type here number of blank cells in parentheses dynamically. So here we say that D9 to D10. Let me copy this and paste it here. So with an offset function, what I can achieve is we can achieve this range. So in order to find this or refer this D9 in a dynamic way, we can use this offset function. And I'm going to choose this as a starting point or the cell reference, then comma, I want to go one row down, comma, but I want to stay in the same column, so I type 0. When I write this formula in that way, I actually completed this D9 section in this range. In order to write D10 here, I want to make another offset function, and now I am going to refer from the bottom of this range. So I'm going to refer to the second heading, comma, I want to go one row up, so -1, and then comma, I want to stay in the same columns and 0. So when I type this, it is actually showing here. So if I copy this formula without equal sign and come here, and instead of this D9 to D10, I can paste it here, and let's also delete this. Now if I add another row, as you can see, now it is dividing 25% to 3 here. But this one, our previous formula, it is still showing 2 because it is calculating the empty cells in D9 and D10. Now we can delete this. And if I put, or if I grab the whole formula into a count blank formula, now I can see 3 blank cells between these two ranges. If I add another one here, it's 4, or here, doesn't matter. Now it's showing 5, right? So The next step is when I click check these boxes, it has to calculate and find the total here. So in order to do that, let me go inside this cell and put some spaces. If this one is true, then make this calculation. Now we can delete this and go to end of this formula, and if not checked, put a 0. So I can find the proportion of the subheading over this heading 1. Here, let's copy this. Before that, let's also log them out, these two references. Okay, and hit enter. Now, if I copy this and paste it here, now it's going to find the calculation and display it here. However, we have another problem. If I add another row below, it's now going to find the number of blank cells dynamically, but it is not copying the formula here. So what we can do, let's first delete those formulas in those cells, and we are going to add an array formula here. So instead of C9 true, we will say C9 colon C14. If these are true, then make the calculation. But in Google Sheets, in order to activate array formula, we have two options. Either we will wrap the entire formula in array formula, or we will press Ctrl Shift Enter or Command Shift Enter on Mac. So now we have the calculation in all rows. If I add another row, as you can see, the row does not have the function because this C9 and C14 is hard-coded. So we have to apply this offset logic to here so that we can find the exact number of empty cells here. So we have to change this C9 to C14. Let me copy this and paste it here. So I have to achieve this C9 and C14 dynamically. Again, we are going to make a range with an offset function. So offset cell reference, again, this one, make it absolute reference, comma, I want to go one row down, and I want to go here, so -1 to one column left. This is here, this checkbox. As you can see, it says true now. Colon, let's make the second part of the range. So offset, this one is the starting point, make it absolute reference, comma, I want to go one row up, so -1, comma, again one column left, -1 again. So this is our dynamic range. So I copy this formula without the equal sign, come here, and instead of this C9 to C14, I paste it here and hit enter. As you can see, now we have these zeros here again. If I add another row, we have the formula here again. So now I can delete these as well. Also these ones, we don't need them anymore. So let's delete these, delete rows. And as you can see, it dynamically calculates the proportion of each subheading and makes the calculation here. So the next step is when it finds the proportion, it's going to write the total here, and this one also may have to be dynamic again. First of all, let me write sum, enter. Let's close this down. You have to find the total of this range. So in order to find this dynamically, I'm going to say again, let me go inside this cell and copy this reference and go to here, copy that. Now in order to make this H9, which is this one, let's make another offset function to make our range, dynamic range, offset this cell, make it absolute by pressing F4 key, one row down. How many columns I should come to from D to H? So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 column right, comma. The second part of the range is offset. Second heading is the starting point or our cell reference. So I have to go one row up, -1, and 4 columns right. And this is our dynamic range. So I go inside this cell and copy this formula without the equal sign and come here. And instead of this H9 to H10, I simply paste our formula so that our range will be dynamic. Now we can copy and paste our formulas next to heading 2 and subheading under this copy. Here, copy. Here. And we have to make the necessary changes in our formula. So instead of D8, it has to start from D11 here. So D11, and it has to go D14 here to go from bottom to up, D14. And for this subheading, again, let's go inside the cell, and instead of D8, it has come to D11. The starting point should be D11. Here again, D14. And for this one, again, instead of D8, we will say D11 and D14. So let's make our correction here. Go to D14 and hit enter. Now I can also delete these two. And finally, let me click this one. It's true. And let's copy this formula next to conclusion. Paste. If I check this one, it will be 25% again. And finally, we have to reflect those totals into this project completion rate. So it is simply sum, and it's go to G7 to G, all the way down. Close the parentheses. It is 50%. Now I am going to write our sparkline here to produce our graph. So equals sparkline, and the data is here, and next to data we have to write the options, and these options will be written into curly brackets. So let me first put those curly brackets, close the parentheses. Now inside the curly brackets, in between quotes, we say chart type, quote, comma, quote, bar, comma. So we say that the chart should be bar type, and semicolon, quote maximum number will be 1. Because it's a number, we don't put them in put this into quote, semicolon, and again quote, color 1, comma, in quote, let's say green, and hit enter. As you can see, whenever we check our box according to this completion rate, it's changing the project completion bar dynamically. Remember in my demo at the beginning of this video, I had been showing different colors based on the percentage here. In order to do that, I asked Google Gemini to give me a color scale from 0% to 100%, and we are going to use this table and place the hex code here into this Sparkline project. So in order to do that, let me make a VLOOKUP here. So what we are going to search for, this, comma, the range is where I am going to search for it, here. Let's make it absolute reference, comma, the index is 1, 2, and 3 for the hex codes for those colors, 3. And we need an approximate match, not exact match, because these percentages are incrementing by 10%, not 5%. Or for this one, it's 5%. If we have more items here, then according to main number of main headings, this project rate, completion rate will be different for each part. So I say 1 instead of 0, and it gives me the color hex code for this 50%. If I check this one, now it will change. So I copy this formula without the equal sign, copy it, and here inside the Sparkline formula, instead of this code, green code, we paste our formula here and hit enter. So now if I uncheck those, as you can see, the color is changing. And if I check all of these, the color is changing and the graph is fulfilling the entire range. So now I can also delete this. And we can simply hide those rows here. Hide columns G and K. And now we can make our project tracker and change it according to our needs. I hope you like this video and you like this project. Actually, I want to apply this project tracker in my future videos. If you like the content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.